Good evening. Welcome back to Hellhound's Late Night Spook Show here in the Horror and Metal channel. I'm going to continue my streak looking at my favorite movies from each year in the 80s, my favorite decade. I previously did my top 10 of 1980, 81, 82, and then for 83 and 84 I combined them into two separate top 5 lists in the same video, because I couldn't come up with 10 for each year. I consider my favorite. But anyway, now we're at 1985, which was my favorite year. A great year for movies, music, everything. 1985 was an awesome year through and through. There's a lot of great horror movies that came out. But I managed to narrow it down to a top 10. So let's go and take a look. Number 10, my 10th favorite horror film from 1985 would have to be Life Force. A really good sci-fi horror flick starring Steve Railsback. He was also great in that Ed Gein movie. He played a great Ed Gein. And Mathilda May as a naked space alien vampire. They were in like a space station, and they examining a comet, and then an alien spacecraft has a deadly secret. There's some humanoid creatures that go after our heroes, and lots of mayhem ensues. Yeah, pretty good movie. I needed to review this. It's directed by the great Tobe Hooper, and I think this is one of his best movies. Love that old school Vestron Video logo. It's so cool. But yeah, definitely check out Life Force. My 10th favorite horror movie for 1985. I need to upgrade to get it on DVD or Blu-ray, because all I have is this VHS release. Yeah, Life Force. Highly recommended. Alright, so number 9, my 9th favorite 1985 horror flick is going to be Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. So when I first saw this movie, I didn't like it much at all. But it's really grown on me. I actually really like it now. It's definitely flawed. It definitely has a lot of problems. That's why I ranked it so low on this list. But I do really appreciate that they did something different. It wasn't just Freddy Krueger haunting teenagers in their dreams yet again. They actually did something different. He was trying to possess the body of Jesse, played by Mark Patton. Who's a great protagonist, not as good as Nancy, but still pretty good. I like the characters, I like the cast. It does still have some pretty interesting dream sequences, and again, like I said, I like that they did something a lot different. It's directed by Jack Shoulder, and again, this is probably my third favorite next to Part 1 and Part 3, honestly. New Nightmare's good too, but I really like this one. Freddy Krueger has a great look in this one as well. I really like his makeup job. Looks great, and some great one-liners. Some of my favorite Freddy quotes are in this movie as well, and some pretty interesting looking special effects too. All in all, it's a good movie. I reviewed this on my channel before, so check that out for more info. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, my 9th favorite 1985 horror film. Alright, so number 8 would be Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Yes, I like this movie. Bite me. We all know it's a bummer that Jason Voorhees isn't the killer, and it's pretty much a copycat. Yeah, that does kind of suck, but it doesn't take away from the movie a whole lot. I used to really dislike that, but it's actually kind of grown on me. It's like the first movie. The first movie is a whodunit too, so it's not a big deal. I gotta say, this has got to be the most entertaining out of all the Friday the 13th movies. This movie's just a blast. It's a lot of fun. I like the cast. I like the characters. I like the setting at the halfway house for troubled teens. Tommy Jarvis returns, this time played by John Shepard, who really perfectly displays the more tortured, PTSD-ridden Tommy. I like how he's always beating the crap out of everybody. Then, of course, the scene where Vic murders young Joey, it just came out of nowhere. I sort of expected. I was like, man, that's kind of the first time we've seen somebody killed by someone other than, Pamela or Jason. So yeah, it is a copycat killer this time. And the first time I watched this, I assumed it was just going to be Jason again. So I wasn't expecting another killer. So I had no idea who it was going to be really. But it's pretty interesting nonetheless. And like I said, it's very entertaining. That Hick family, the mother and her son are just a riot. They were just hilarious. There's a lot of really funny scenes and funny characters in this movie. And of course, Tiffany, like I said, I love the cast. I love John Shepard as Tommy. I loved Tiffany Helm as Violet. And of course, Deborah Voorhees as Tina has a very memorable death scene. Lots of memorable kills in this movie. It had the highest kill count of the series thus far at this point. Great setting, great scenery, and great characters. This movie's just a blast. I think it's very, very underrated. I think people just hate it just because Jason's not the killer. But other than that, it's a great entry in the series. All right, number 7 is Demons, one of my favorite Italian horror flicks. This movie's really fun too, just really, really amusing. Mostly takes place in a movie theater. I think more horror movies need to have that setting. You know, the only one that I can think of is Popcorn. I guess that one scene in Scream 2. But yeah, it takes place in a movie theater, and they're watching a horror movie, and then strange things start to happen. People start to get possessed. It's kind of like Evil Dead. Yeah, Lamberto Bava directed this, and this movie's very, very fun. Get to see a guy riding a motorcycle with a samurai sword offing possessed people. Just absolute blast. Great soundtrack. Fun characters. Great setting. Great special effects too. Great makeup work. Demons is highly recommended. One of Lamberto Bava's best films. One of my favorite Italian horror movies. Probably the most entertaining Italian horror movie I've ever seen. I just love it, and that's why it's my 7th favorite 1985 horror flick, Demons. Check it out. Speaking of Italian horror, my 6th favorite is none other than Phenomena. Yes, Phenomena, even though this stupid Americanized, censored English dubbed VHS is called Creepers. But it's actually called Phenomena. It's about Jennifer. It concerns Jennifer Connelly, who plays a young girl who can communicate with insects, and there's a killer. It's kind of a mystery whodunit. Deranged killer stalking the grounds of her boarding school, slaughtering her friends, and Donald Pleasance is in it. He's a favorite of mine. And but if you're gonna watch this movie, don't watch this Americanized version called Creepers. Watch the full uncut Italian version known as Phenomena. One of Dario Argento's best movies, the master of terror himself, and this is a great entry in his catalog. Phenomena, check it out. Phenomena, not Creepers. Alright, now we're done to the top 5. My 5th favorite, Silver Bullet. It's probably my 3rd favorite werewolf movie after, of course, American Werewolf in London and The Howling. The werewolf itself doesn't look quite as good as the ones in those movies, and the transformation effects aren't quite as good either, but it's still a very fun movie. Of course, you have Corey Fame, who stars as the young protagonist, Marty Koslav, who's in a wheelchair, and his really funny, really fun uncle, played by the great Gary Busey, Uncle Red, makes him a motorized wheelchair-type device called a silver bullet. And then, of course, there's a werewolf, in the town going around offing people, and they have to figure out who the werewolf is. It's a great movie, great cast. Gary Busey's a lot of fun. He's just a riot, and he's always great. And I think this is probably my favorite role of his, quite possibly. Corey Haim's great. Everett McGill is really good as the villain. The only other horror movie I've seen him in is People Under the Stairs. And also Terry O'Quinn, who of course is in The Stepfather, is really great in this too. Of course it was written by Stephen King. It was based on his novella, Cycle of the Werewolf. Silver Bullet. One of my favorite werewolf movies and my 5th favorite 1985 horror film. If you haven't seen it, definitely do yourself a favor and check it out. Silver Bullet is a lot of fun. Alright, so next we have my number 4 choice is Day of the Dead, the 3rd film in George A. Romero's zombie trilogy. It used to be a trilogy. Now there's actually 6 movies. Now this isn't quite as good as Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead, I don't think, but I do think the zombies look a lot better in this one. It has better makeup effects, and it has much better gore, too. This movie has some really great gore, especially the death scene of Captain Rhodes, played by the late Joe Pilato, rest in peace. Yeah, choke on him! Yeah, such a gruesome, violent, bloody scene. I just love it. Yeah, this movie has a great sadistic, brutal gore, and great-looking zombies. I like the setting in the underground military bunker. Like I said, it's not quite as good as the first 2, but I think it has a lot of things going for it as well. It's definitely a great entry, and I think it's kind of underrated. The conclusion in Romero's original Dead trilogy is still really, really, really good, and I highly recommend it. It's my 4th favorite 1985 horror film. Number 3, Reanimator. Directed by Stuart Gordon, produced by Brian Yesna, and starring the awesome Jeffrey Combs. I love this guy. He plays Herbert West, who's a young scientist who's developed a reagent, a serum that could revive the dead. Yeah, he resurrects dead bodies in the morgue at the medical university that he's a student at, and of course, you know, all hell breaks loose as expected. Yeah, Dr. Carl Hill, played by David Gale, is the villain, who's basically just a severed head who commands his disembodied, or his headless body, I mean, around. Yeah, it's really funny. It's a really fun movie. It's very entertaining. Yeah, it's not. It's a little scary, you know, but it's supposed to be mostly played for laughs. You know, it's not too serious. It's a horror comedy, and it's very, very gory. There's a lot of blood and guts in this movie. It's right up there with like Dead Alive and The Evil Dead. A very gory movie. Yeah, very graphic, over the top violence, and it's just a lot of fun. This movie's an absolute blast. I love it. And yeah, like I said, Jeffrey Combs is always great. He's one of my favorite actors, and this is definitely his magnum opus. Reanimator, check it out. Number 2, of course, is none other than Fright Night. I've talked about this movie a lot. It's my favorite vampire movie. Of course, stars Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, a vampire who moves in next door to Charlie Brewster, a young high school student who is the only one who knows his neighbor's terrifying, deadly secret, and he's trying to stop the dangerous bloodsucker before he can claim more victims. Yeah, great cast. Yeah, William Ragsdale's great as Charlie, like I already said. Chris Sarandon, who I always like, is great as Jerry, the main villain, the vampire. Amanda Beers plays Charlie's girlfriend, Amy. And, of course, Roddy McDowall as Peter Vincent. Such a great, great character. He's kind of a Van Helsing type, but just kind of a coward, too. Yeah, he's a horror host. He hosts his own movies that he started on TV. He's got his own TV show hosting horror movies. And, of course, Stephen Jeffries is Evil Ed, who steals every scene he's in. He's really, really funny, and he's just a blast to watch. Yeah, this movie's really fun. It perfectly balances horror and humor. And it's just highly amusing. I absolutely love it. This movie is just it's a comfort movie for me. Every time I watch this, I feel right at home. It's just a very, very enjoyable flick. Fright Night, my second favorite 1985 horror film of all time. And the number one best 1985 horror movie, in my opinion, is, of course, Return of the Living Dead. Directed by Dan O'Bannon. Oh, by the way, Tom Holland directed Fright Night, who also did Child's Play. Not to be confused with the Tom Holland that plays the current Spider-Man. But anyway, yeah. This is Return of the Living Dead, directed by Dan O'Bannon. Wow, talk about great-looking zombies. The makeup effects in this movie is great. I always prefer the more decomposed, more, like, rotted zombies to the, you know, freshly dead ones that just look like humans with pale skin. You know, they look way better in here. Yeah, great makeup effects, great-looking zombies, great gore, perfectly balances horror and humor. It's kind of a horror comedy as well. And most of all, a great cast. I love the young punk rockers. Of course, you know, Linnea Quigley, the Scream Queen, sorry, plays Trash. You know, she's a very memorable character and has a very memorable dance scene in the graveyard. Yeah, great scenery, the scenes in the cemetery, the scenes in the medical supply warehouse. Everybody's a great job. I actually think the old guys better than the younger cast. Yeah, I love Clu Gallagher and James Karen and Don Calfa. They're just really funny and really badass. It's just really cool. I'd love to hang out with them. And of course, Tom Matthews from Friday the 13th Part 6 plays Freddy. He's a great character as well. Yeah, great cast, great characters, great scenery, great gore, great zombie makeup effects. This movie's just an absolute blast. Great soundtrack as well. Great scenery at nighttime. To me, in my opinion, this is the ultimate zombie movie. I actually watched it in a cemetery one time on a portable DVD player. How cool is that? But yeah, alright guys, well, those were my top 10 favorite 1985 horror films. Definitely let me know what yours are in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching my late night spook show here on the Horror and Metal channel. I'm Hellhound. Until next time, later.